not sponsored. Again, obviously. This video is going to be a bit more off the cuff because I am in the middle of writing my next video script and it's going to take longer than I expected. So if it seems like it's not scripted, that's because it's not really at all. It's not intended to be scripted either. So today we're going to be looking over the Dispatch trailer, and as we go over it, I'm going to point out things in the background of the world, things that are obvious, to figure out what kind of world setting Dispatch actually has, because there's some superhero worlds where superheroes are really common and they're integrated into the system. Like police officers say hi howdy, they're not trying to arrest them as soon as they see them as a vigilante. Depending on how this trailer depicts superheroes in the background of it, we'll be able to narrow down what kind of superhero world it is, whether superheroes are an oddity or if they're an everyday thing. But if you've watched the trailer before, I think you already know. But we'll be doing that now. I'll be cutting in and out of the trailer. And of course, that means I have to wear these headphones so that I can hear everything. It makes me feel weird wearing these on camera. But yeah, we've got the video set up here. I've skipped over the starting bit because the starting bit just has all the same things that are already in the trailer at the start. And they eventually show up later on in the trailer, so there's no point in seeing it. It's just meant to be the hook reel to try and get viewers into it.
Just on the inside.
Right, so obviously, as we can see, he's currently at a conference, right?
My suit was destroyed.
And him being at a conference means that superheroes are already heavily inside the media to the point where they can even have like locations rented out and stuff. So obviously they're not seen as bad things by humanity. But they also have advertisements, not advertisement. They also have the news talking about him being retired and all that. All right, so just going off of the building design of this place, I think it's intended to be hero friendly because we can see this bat guy. He flies off into this entrance to the right, even though there's a set of doors to the left. So I'm assuming this right side is meant to be for bigger people to get in. But all the cars look like they are just normal cars. They're not intended to be like superhero cars or anything like that. They're not designed to look fancy or anything. They're not even designed for like special needs or anything like that. So they don't have superheroes or just people with superpowers daily that need specified vehicles. Another thing is that all the technology looks like it's from the 80s, like 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s. It depends. I remember seeing computers like this when I was a kid, and I'm not that old, so that. And also, to be fair, a lot of old technology still ends up being used in offices even today, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's also the case.
Exchange.
Here we have a bigger view of the office, right? So we've got normal, everyday people, a few dudes in the back, one kneeling down on the floor, two of them at the front. They're all just normal human beings, right? Then you have big, bulky guy in his seat. I can't tell what that is in the back, but that doesn't look like a normal human. We got a mascot, that's a cat, and then I can't tell what that other deep blue is, but that's not the normal worker uniform. So obviously, superheroes still get day jobs, right? But they still wear suits and all that. So it could be similar to how Mecha Man, this guy, gets a job in this place because he can no longer be a superhero. So maybe all these other people here are superheroes that also can't do their job anymore, or they finish being superheroes and they're trying to stick to a desk job afterwards. Although it's weird for them to continue wearing their uniforms while doing that.
You Mecha Man again.
One thing I don't understand about the technology leap is that almost all the technology you see throughout the trailer is, again, anywhere between the 80s to the early 2000s in advancements, right? But then you get holograms, full 3D light holograms in this scene, which throws me off immensely. This computer. So this computer, it's still obviously between the 80s to 2000s in design, but my theory that this game takes place somewhere within the early 2000s, if not maybe at the latest the early 2010s. And I know that's weird because you look at this computer and you're like, that's definitely not an early 2000s computer. That thing is an 80s to 90s computer. And my current running theory is that this world is exactly like our world, almost beat for beat, until the 80s, right? So we still have all the same food brands and all that. That's why Twinkies are still there. I know that's probably just an actual like sponsored thing by the game developers, or it's just public domain company for them to use. But my theory is that superheroes popped up in 1980s, right? They probably still existed before the 1980s, but they got popularized and brought into the system in the 1980s. And because of that, the advancements in technology got partially halted because everyone's now looking at all these superheroes and everything flying around, saving lives and beating crime and all that. And it's like within legal boundaries as well. And so all those giant tech moguls and stuff like that, instead of making new computers and all these advancements in technology, they instead stepped towards making superheroes, like science experiments, mech enhancements, maybe cyborg enhancements, maybe even some mech suits. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I would say that might explain why all the computers look like they're old, is because, again, that's just where they're at with technologies, because they don't progress as far. And then maybe some technologies, they progress way further because they have people that can allow them to get to that kind of technological advancement. Like, you have people who can produce light from their body. If people that can produce light from their body exist, then they can probably find out a way to make light holograms like we see before. Unless that was just a really big screen. Yeah, even all the programming still falls under something that you might see in the 80s and 90s, but it's still advanced enough for it to be semi-modern. It's also meant to be a game UI thing, so that makes sense too. Right, so first things first.
Is that your car?
I don't have a car.
That's gonna be a weird insurance claim.
For it being a weird insurance claim implies that insurance hasn't adjusted to superhero damage. So unless this character was fighting someone and that's how he ended up on the hood of the car, I imagine that would be covered by insurance. But if this guy just fell on top of the car by accident, then it probably wouldn't be a very well good insurance claim, especially for a superhero. And from what I can tell in this point of view, there is a dude that you can see behind the glass who's got cybernetic enhancements, which kind of helps my theory. But they got a cell phone. This guy, front left, is using a digital cell phone that I would say is modern enough to be a real cell phone. So again, this could be literally modern day because that looks like a pretty modern phone. The only thing that I think is different is that it's got a weird bar at the top of it. But this could be modern day. And they just still have technology from the 80s and 90s because, again, technology just didn't advance very far in comparison to the modern day.
You're right at home behind.
All right, we'll double check what that flyby scene looked like, because all of it looks relatively normal. And as you can see on the balcony, I think that's a balcony, walking past, whatever the right term would be in this occasion, you've got normal human beings. They don't look like they've got any special abilities. They all look like they're just in casual day clothing. They're obviously looking at this person who's just swooped over their heads in a bit of like a mystifying way. I mean, like, they don't see it too often. Also, one thing I find funny is that there's still meme culture, either by the developers or not. You got stonks.
You're a nerd playing a video game in a suit your daddy built.
Now, that's one thing I want to point out, is that Mecha Man's suit was built by his father. That's why the whole premise of the game is that you're trying to get it repaired, because he obviously doesn't have the capability of getting it repaired himself, which implies that his father did build it. He could be one of those people who maybe he could have had maybe his dad was Steve Jobs, but maybe his father was originally just a mechanic that was building normal cars and everything. But then when superheroes became publicized, he built a mech suit to fight crime. His father died. The mech suit gets handed down to his son, so on and so forth. Nonetheless, technology didn't go the way that it was expecting, because it was then building technology based to go against superhumans or to help them. There's a cybernetic dude we saw behind the glass before. His attachment doesn't seem to be entirely permanent, because I think to the left you can see like what looks like a backpack of some kind, probably attaches to his glove, his laser hand. So that's a cybernetically enhanced person. Oh yeah, and before, where was it before? We need to run back to the scene where Mecha Man was entering. Alright, this is the one I was looking for. So there's police officers still here, which means that while superheroes are integrated into the public law system, because they have their own dispatch center and everything, they're obviously going to be integrated into the law system. They still need police officers to handle crimes as well, meaning that there isn't that many superheroes that they can cover everything.
Help yourself.
All right, there's not much to add outside of that. My running theory so far is that in 1980s, right, superheroes at long time beforehand have always been considered vigilantes and looked down upon by a lot of governments and all that, maybe by some of the public too, similar to how Marvel usually depicted it when Marvel first started out. But then in the 1980s, they officially teamed up with superheroes to stop supervillains, and superheroes became legalized. And in doing that, it obviously brought more superheroes and all that out of the woodworks. Superheroes became more mainstream, pushing aside the advancement of technology as it would have advanced in our modern day today in our world. And superheroes aren't like what they would do in My Hero Academia, where they're just constantly being born, just random superpowers and all that. They're obviously being made to an extent. Maybe a few of them were born with their powers, but I think most of them have all gained their powers from some external thing. Maybe being an alien from outer space, which I highly doubt. Or maybe it was like science gone wrong, where they got put into some experiment that gave them superpowers. Or maybe it was science gone right, because again, this was meant to be during the boom of superheroes and all that. They probably had people forcefully giving themselves superpowers, half the time probably creating supervillains. You also have people making superheroes that are technically just machines. I would technically classify it as a machine. Something that didn't originate as a human, but now classifies as a superhuman, even though it's not human. Or they're using technology to become cybernetically enhanced, to make themselves superheroes or villains. Or in Mecha Man's case, he's using a full suit of armor to fight crime as well. That's been destroyed, unfortunately. That's where we're at today. I think that it is based near modern times. Technology's been halted because of the superhero boom in the 1980s, and superhumans aren't incredibly common, but there are a few snippets where you can see that superhumans are common enough to get advertising and all that. So I think it's a better matchup would probably be Invincible or The Boys, which I know is a weird comparison to make, but not everyone in those worlds are superheroes, and there's not a ton of superheroes, and that's probably why we don't see a lot of superhuman friendly buildings or vehicles, because there's just not enough of them to warrant having whole new cars manufactured or have every building be superhuman accessible, which is why the SDN Center has a separate entrance from the main two doors at the front, just in case you have a superhuman that's way too tall for a normal door frame, like Golem, or that guy who sits in the office chair, or I guess Man-Bat if he's in his Sonar, when he's in his like big bat form. Yeah, the world of Dispatch is a world where there's not too many superheroes, but there's enough for them to be normalized and integrated into at least America's justice system. And because of that big boom of superheroes, technology wasn't advanced, because everyone's now researching and experimenting on how superhumans work and exist. So obviously this video was off the cuff, no script, so I apologize if the quality isn't that great, but if you do like this kind of content, please do subscribe. It lets me know that you would like to see this type of content more. If you've got any theories or how you think that the Dispatch works in your own opinion, you leave it down in the comments. I like to hear everyone's opinions on these kinds of things, and like I would love to hear more theories, because I love superhero worlds and all that. World building is amazing for superheroes. And you can hit that like button as well if you like the video. Again, I put the link for the trailer and the game down in the description below. I've also got another Dispatch video, which might pop up already. It depends when the Ascend screen pops up. And again, it's not sponsored.